General Hospital spoilers tease that one of the latest shocks Drew has caused in Port Charles is rapidly becoming a serious threat. An open wound that cannot heal and must be removed quickly before it spreads and shatters what's left of the fragile stability here. Drew's behavioral changes can no longer be ignored or excused as stress or psychological aftershocks. Every action, every word from Drew exudes a cold danger, subtle calculations, and an unpredictable threat to anyone who dares stand in his way. And as the shocks continue to explode, accompanied by a growing sense of obsession that engulfs everyone, one undeniable truth is becoming clear: Drew is no longer a friend, an ally, or even someone who could be easily persuaded to change his ways. He has become a dangerous force. Someone Port Charles can no longer tolerate if it wants to preserve anything. That creeping sense of obsession, that vague fear, is quickly transforming into an urgent need to eliminate Drew. To eradicate this danger before it blossoms into an unforeseeable disaster. In this context, Michael's unexpected return is like a sharp blade cutting through the web of lies Drew has been trying to cast over everything. Michael, who has lost so much, who has endured painful lessons about betrayal and deceit, is no longer someone who can easily trust or allow himself to be trapped in empty justifications. He returns to Port Charles with resolve. His heart ablaze with a desire to protect those he loves most, especially Willow, who is increasingly being manipulated by Drew in a subtle and dangerous manner. Michael realizes that Drew is no longer Drew, or at least, he is no longer the man he once knew. The murky motives, the covert connections, and the thirst for power are gradually transforming Drew into something else, a threat not just to individuals but to the fragile fabric of family and community in Port Charles. In Michael's heart, one truth is becoming etched: Drew cannot be saved. He needs to be eliminated, and it must happen quickly, decisively, before Drew can cause more harm to innocent people. But eliminating Drew is not merely an act of punishment or revenge, it is a necessity, an unavoidable sacrifice for the greater good. Michael understands that if he hesitates, if he falters, Drew will seize every opportunity to inflict more damage, manipulate more weak souls, and solidify his power until no one has the strength to resist. Drew is no longer just a troubled individual. He is a collective threat, a ticking time bomb ready to plunge Port Charles into a crisis that no one can undo. In this environment, the obsession with Drew grows heavier than ever, spreading through every corner of Port Charles like a poisonous fog. Those who once cared for Drew must now face the painful truth that, to protect what is left, they must view him as an enemy. And Michael, with his furious and determined return, is emerging as the only one strong enough, cold enough, and resolute enough to do what no one else dares. End the nightmare known as Drew once and for all. Port Charles is heading toward a decisive moment. Amid the darkness of schemes, betrayals, and unhealed wounds, an underground battle is taking shape. And when that moment arrives, when Michael must face Drew in an unavoidable life-or-death struggle, there will be no room for mercy, for pity, or for any illusions that things will eventually get better. There will only be life and death. There will only be the choice to save what matters most or let it collapse forever under the hands of someone who has completely lost himself. And when Michael takes action, when the final decision is made quietly and without compromise, Port Charles will witness a new kind of obsession, not just the obsession with what Drew has caused, but with the cold price of necessity, the price of protecting those you love from the very people once considered allies, even family. A new era will begin. But the shadow of what was lost will forever loom over those who remain standing after the storm. Nurses Ball 2025 will not just be another annual event filled with stage lights, glamorous gowns, and dazzling performances like in past years. This time, it will become a fateful moment, where Drew will be eliminated right in the spotlight. It will no longer just be a celebration of goodwill but has unwittingly become the perfect stage for an irreversible turning point in the increasingly chaotic and dangerous story of Port Charles. What was once the city's pride now becomes the setting for one of the cruelest moments, as darkness rips apart the dazzling glow of the night. The final stages of the plan to eliminate Drew are now reaching their peak, with every detail, every move being refined subtly and precisely, as though the entire universe is preparing for that one moment. The reshaping of the story is not merely about removing a dangerous individual, it's about resetting the balance. Decisively and uncompromisingly. The plots, the motives, the plans that have been silently in preparation for so long will all converge on one night, under the blinding lights of the nurses' ball. Where everyone will witness a historic moment, Drew will meet his end. However, behind all these cold calculations, a new and crazy event is also rising. The covert alliances between factions. The hidden schemes and the unseen enemies are all moving simultaneously, making the situation in Port Charles more fragile than ever. The change is not just in Drew's death but in the explosive consequences that follow, as all the truths are brought to a head and there is no turning back for anyone involved. The very plan to eliminate Drew at the nurses' ball proves an undeniable fact. Port Charles is entering an era of a new obsession, deeper and more terrifying than anything that has come before. There is no room for innocence or compassion anymore. Every action, every decision now pushes the absolute limits of survival. Those who were once considered friends and family are now ready to do the most brutal things to protect what they believe is right. And Drew, with everything he has become, will be the necessary sacrifice to restore that fragile balance. The new obsession is rising, spreading from the glittering halls of the nurses' ball to the darkest corners of the city. All eyes will be on the stage, where applause and cheerful songs are merely a thin veneer masking the storm that is about to erupt. Those closest to Drew, those who once loved him, trusted him, or even hated him, will be the first to feel the icy air of the change sweeping over them. As the night reaches its peak, when the music fades and the stage lights focus on the crucial moment, Drew will have no escape. No one will save him. No pleading will prevent the inevitable end that has been set in motion long ago. And when Drew falls, Port Charles will never be the same. One door will close, but another, of new obsessions, of days that cannot be undone, will open. And it all begins with Nurses' Ball 2025. The night Port Charles will forever remember as the fateful moment when the lights went out and the darkness began to consume everything. A new, reckless adjustment is quietly forming amidst the unrelenting chaos in Port Charles. When Michael returns, bringing with him not just anger but also deep-seated secrets related to Shiloh, the story takes a darker, much more dangerous turn. Michael, with his sharpness and unwavering determination, has uncovered evidence of the covert link between Shiloh and Drew's current strange behavior. The secrets Shiloh once held, the schemes he harbored from the past, are slowly revealing terrifying details showing that Drew is not just a victim of circumstance. He, or the imposter in his place, is becoming the embodiment of a darkness Port Charles has never seen before. Michael, with all his insight and burning fury, has begun to calculate new moves to expose this dangerous deception. He understands that he cannot stand idly by as Drew continues to manipulate Willow and shatter what little remains in the hearts of those he loves. Michael's new strategy is no longer a mere reaction. It has become an active campaign, where he systematically strips away the false facades Drew tries to hide behind. Step by step revealing all the brutal truths that Port Charles has long been blind to. Michael's resolve is starting to uncover the darkest obsessions in Drew, or the imposter wearing his name. The darkness that Drew is sowing, especially with Willow, is no longer a vague potential threat but has turned into specific wounds, real harm. Michael, faced with this truth, realizes that he must act before things go too far, before Willow, and others, are hurt beyond repair. The truth is slowly emerging like cold light tearing through the night. Drew is not just a threat to Port Charles, but is also a destroyer at the very core of the people who once trusted him, who once loved him unconditionally. Willow, one of the most severely affected, begins to feel the heavy consequences of the blind choices she made under Drew's insidious manipulation. As the truths Michael uncovers are slowly revealed, Willow is forced to confront the painful regret, a gnawing sense of guilt when she realizes that, however unwittingly, she has helped the darkness spread. Willow, with a broken heart and guilt that cannot be soothed, will have to struggle with herself, wrestling with the question of whether she can ever forgive herself, knowing that her past actions have unintentionally put those she loves in danger. This regret will not just be sorrow, it will become a deep scar in Willow's soul. A reminder of how misplaced trust can lead to consequences so terrible they are almost unimaginable. The story of Michael, Drew, and Willow is no longer just a matter of relationships. Everything has been torn apart, bent, and darkened by secrets, betrayal, and undisclosed schemes. And as Michael continues to walk the path of truth, as Willow grapples with her own remorse, Port Charles will witness a new obsession rise, one not just born from what has been lost, but from the painful price they must pay to salvage what remains. And in that moment, the new reckless adjustment Michael has set in motion will no longer be able to stop. It will draw everyone into a relentless, underground battle, where each truth exposed comes with new wounds. Where every decision could determine the future of a city quaking before the darkness that has taken such deep root. Drew is truly facing one of the most dangerous and calculated attacks he has ever encountered, as Michael prepares with everything he has. The dark actions and schemes Drew has quietly carried out. The harm he has inflicted on Willow and those around her, can no longer be forgiven or ignored. Michael, with all that he has endured, and the horrifying truths he has exposed about the covert connections between Drew and the ghost of the past named Shiloh, has reached the point of making a single decision. There is only one way to end this, to act first, to eliminate Drew before he can continue spreading suffering to anyone else. If Michael once allowed personal hatred to cloud his judgment, wavering between emotion and reason, a major change is now forming. Michael, now understanding that this battle is no longer just between him and Drew, but concerns the safety of everyone he loves, has decided to set aside all old grudges, all past pains, to focus entirely on one goal, to eliminate Drew swiftly and without mercy. To achieve this, Michael has accepted a strategy unlike any he has used before, to align with those he once may never have thought to fight alongside. Nina and Portia. Two women who once stood at opposing ends of the complex relationships in Michael's life, have now become strategic allies in this new offensive. Michael understands that to bring down Drew, partnering with Nina and Portia is not just about gathering forces, it is the largest tactical adjustment Michael has ever made. Nina, with her vast influence in social circles and media, will help amplify the necessary information, weakening Drew's reputation and standing from the inside, while Portia, with her medical expertise and hospital connections, will open covert paths to approach Drew in his most vulnerable areas. Together with Michael, they will form a tightening net, step by step, drawing Drew into a trap he cannot foresee. Meanwhile, Drew, confident in his newfound power and the dark schemes he has carefully built, remains unaware that his days of acting freely are numbered. He continues his plans to manipulate Willow, strengthening his hold with subtle tricks, but he is blind to the fact that around him, a counteroffensive net is tightening, locking down his last chances to escape. The major shift in Michael's approach, putting aside personal hatred to focus on a shared goal, proves that this battle against Drew will not stop at mere accusations or light psychological attacks. It will be a total takedown, where every move has been meticulously planned, every strike aimed at the most critical weaknesses Drew possesses. Port Charles is facing a new storm. As Michael, Nina, and Portia begin to act, as their coordination reaches its peak, Drew will have nowhere left to hide. The end of Drew will not just be a personal collapse but a warning to anyone who ever thought they could manipulate, betray, and harm the innocent without paying the price. The story will reach its conclusion with a new obsession, a chill spreading throughout Port Charles, as everyone faces the inevitable consequences of these brutal power games. And when Drew collapses before everyone, when all the truths are exposed, no one will doubt it, the new reckless adjustment Michael set in motion will not only save Willow, but it will also save Port Charles from the deepening shadows that have taken root in every corner of this city. Michael now no longer simply wants to defeat Drew, he wants Drew to endure the deepest pain imaginable, a suffering that no excuse or plot can ever undo. The betrayals, the manipulative schemes, and the harm Drew has caused to Willow and the Corinthos family have pushed Michael to his absolute breaking point. The rage burning inside Michael is now uncontrollable. He has devised the most ruthless counterattack, a punishment that Drew will never see coming, a nightmare that will destroy every dark ambition Drew once harbored. One of the new developments surrounding this shift is that Drew is increasingly becoming mired in the troubles of his own making, but this time, he will have no opportunity to escape. Michael, with the cunning and ruthlessness honed by the wounds of his past, has set a trap so intricate that every move Drew makes is being tracked, every action calculated. And every mistake brings him closer to an inevitable collapse. The troubles Drew now faces are no longer small wounds, but lethal blows, prepared in advance. Capable of crushing both his reputation and the power he once held. One of the biggest shocks taking shape is not merely the revelation of Drew's truth, but the way Michael chooses to bring him down. Quietly, denying him any chance of redemption, allowing Drew's downfall to be a slow, painful process, where he will watch everything he painstakingly built crumble before his eyes. Unable to do anything to stop it. Michael will make Drew experience the feelings of helplessness, utter loneliness, and ultimate humiliation, the very things Drew once forced upon others. And all of this will come to a head at the Nurses' Ball 2025, an event Drew once thought would elevate him, allowing him to continue reinforcing his position among admiring crowds. But the reality will be entirely different. At the very heart of Port Charles's most prestigious and glamorous event, under the brightest stage lights, Drew's end will be etched inescapably. Michael has arranged everything so that the truth will be revealed in front of hundreds of watching eyes, to ensure Drew's reputation crumbles publicly, undeniably, and irreparably. The shock Drew will endure at Nurses' Ball 2025 will not just be the loss of the community's respect, but the loss of everything: love, trust, family. And ultimately the very right to stand on his own 2 feet. Drew will be thrust into a pit of solitude with no one reaching out to save him. Michael, fueled by the pain he has endured, will force Drew to taste every drop of that shame, every moment of hopelessness with no way out. And when it is all over, when Drew falls in the middle of the Nurses' Ball spotlight, with no applause, no admiration, only cold stares and whispered insults, Port Charles will understand that an era has truly come to an end. A new chapter, drenched in the raw truth and cold justice, will begin. And Michael, the one who suffered the most, will stand there, witnessing it all, with cold eyes, bearing scars but also newfound strength, strength born from the agonies he has overcome. Nurses' Ball 2025, the most glamorous night, will also be the darkest night for Drew, and that nightmare will never end in the memory of anyone who witnessed it. Michael is now sliding deeper into darkness than even he expected, and what is unfolding shows that destroying Drew is just the beginning of a much larger, much more ruthless revenge plan. Drew's complete downfall at Nurses' Ball 2025 did not satisfy Michael, rather, it ignited a darker ambition within him, a desire to purge anyone who has dared betray, hurt his family. And especially Willow. Once Drew has fallen, Michael immediately shifts his target to the next names on his blacklist, Nina and Brennan. One of the biggest shifts in Michael's actions now is that he is no longer bound by the moral boundaries he once tried to maintain. The pain, betrayal, and overwhelming losses have torn apart his last defenses, leaving behind a cold, ruthless Michael who is willing to do whatever it takes to protect what is left. No more tolerance. No more hesitation. Michael has officially entered a new phase of his life, a man who no longer seeks justice, but yearns for utter destruction of his enemies. Nina. With all her past mistakes, from hiding the truth about Sunny to the intricate psychological games with Willow, has now become a clear target for Michael. He no longer sees her as family or someone deserving of mercy. To Michael now, Nina is simply a traitor, a threat that must be eradicated completely. His plan to destroy Nina is not just about tarnishing her reputation but also about tearing apart her career, her relationships, and the social standing she built through manipulation. Meanwhile, Brennan, the one behind a series of covert schemes, including manipulating Drew and creating dark chaos in Port Charles, cannot escape Michael's revenge. Brennan is no longer just a pawn. He is a real threat that Michael knows he must eliminate if he is to prevent even greater disasters in the future. With cold calculation, Michael begins to peel away Brennan's layers of deceit, preparing for a final blow that will send him plummeting into the abyss of ruined reputation, power, and existence. Every step Michael takes now is meticulously planned, filled with a hatred tempered by sharp logic. He is no longer seeking reconciliation or half measures of justice, he is crafting a new storyline, a journey of revenge on a grand scale, where each enemy will pay the ultimate price for what they've done. And this is pushing Port Charles into a new era of chaos, an era where the storm Michael has unleashed will not easily subside. New shocks are coming in rapid succession, one by one, as people are exposed, relationships torn apart, and secrets revealed in the most brutal ways. A new obsession is spreading throughout the city, as everyone realizes that the Michael of today is no longer the warm, idealistic young man he once was. He has become a man ready to destroy the world if it dares threaten those he loves. Everything is spiraling out of control, with Drew defeated, and Nina and Brennan now the next targets. The new plot Michael is writing will be the darkest chapter in Port Charles's history, a chapter soaked in blood, betrayal, and no room for forgiveness. And when all the final pieces fall into place, Port Charles will never be the same again, because this time, the darkness is not coming from the outside, it is born from Michael's broken heart.